Brought to you by Lister Pros TV, streaming from Tempe, Arizona. And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, Jordan here with Lister Pros TV, and on this right now we're on a segment of Real Estate Pros, and today we have my friend Ryan Richardson on the show. It's been challenging to coordinate our schedules.
Yes,
We've been
definitely.
I was in Houston, then you went to Houston, and then I went out of town, and then anyways,
good old Washington D.C. recently.
Washington D.C. last
some big time
week,
stuff,
and,
man.
And now we finally pinned him down, and he is at Lister
it.
Pros HQ. And today we're going to be talking about eliminating the fluff. But first, to start off, I want to talk a little bit about how I came to know you. I think we had some mutual friends, and I remember on Facebook you had a motorcycle. What did you have? A Ducati?
Ducati, yep.
He had a Ducati Monster, didn't he? What did you
No,
have?
it was the 848, I believe it
848?
was. Yeah, I had it for a short time. It was a dream bike. Finally got it, had the little girl, and then sure enough, we found out 2 weeks later that I was having a boy. So it was too many close calls, man. People texting now, and I had a couple of times where I'm sitting at a stoplight and hearing the screeching tires behind me, and I'm like, I don't want our kids to grow up without dad because somebody was texting.
Right.
You know what I mean? So unfortunately, no more Ducati, but absolutely, I think that's how we met.
That's how we met. I was like, oh man, we should go ride, because I had my Gixxer at the time, which I'm probably gonna get another one.
Yeah.
I actually feel a lot safer on a motorcycle than I do on a bike. I bicycle a lot, so as long as you're I don't intentional about where you ride, when you ride, where you're riding.
Agreed.
But anyways, I guess we share the common bond of cars. So
yes,
Ryan actually got me into. So you started. You had a 2015 Nismo, or is it 16? 370Z.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we took a hiatus one weekend. We went to California.
Yeah. It's
put the twin
awesome.
turbos on it.
Absolutely, man. It was incredible. Something that I got to live that dream and experience it firsthand, like I've always wanted to. And sure enough, the dad role got a hold of me. So unfortunately, my Z's gone. But I think you still have yours, right?
I still have mine. I just found out today that you sold yours. So I'm like,
I know.
I was gonna say, one of these days I'm gonna have a car that's faster than yours.
Now you already do.
Now I do.
It was one of those where I was sad for a day or two. But I mean, it's one of those things. Now you're focusing on the kids. They're starting to get into sports, and just so much more time being able to.
Now
spend
your
with
car
them.
won't overheat on the track.
Yeah. That was the oil temps, not the car. Because I was pushing it too hard. But that's all right. That's fun.
The twin turbo. Then that spin out. If you guys may have seen that video of this spin out. That was Ryan driving that Z on the.
Absolutely. It was raining that day. Come on,
rainy day. That was a lot of fun, though. I think I had a lot of fun racing in the rain.
That was probably the most fun I've had in that car. And it's funny because your times were by far the worst as far as your lap times.
Yeah.
Dude, just
it was
just
a little
cruising.
more of a challenge,
trying to keep it under control, and then when I am spinning out, I'm just cracking up.
Mine's not so. My car, I had no problems with because it only has 300 horsepower.
Yeah.
Yours, on the other hand, has about 700, and it's wet.
Yep. Absolutely. You just barely touch it, you start spinning, man. It's crazy. That's my excuse anyway.
Well, cool. So how long has the love for cars been?
Oh, it's since, what was it, that Fast and the Furious movie came out when I was in high school. And sure enough, that piqued your interest. And I had a Toyota Camry. I thought I was so cool.
You put a pipe on it?
No, I don't think I got to that.
You get a shopping cart wing on the back?
I tried to, actually. It was funny that I got a wing to put on it, and then never got the money to actually put it on there. That's a 16-year-old kid. And then I look back at it, and I was like, thank God I didn't have the money to put it on. But no, it's one of those that it's continued. And, sure enough, my son, he loves cars. That's all he talks about. We have a blast playing with it. So I'll be back in the game one day.
All right, you'll text me, Jordan. I just got this.
Yes, absolutely. The only problem is when you go back, it's got to be something better than you previously have.
So
it's gonna make it tough.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So awesome, man. So we've been friends for a while, but we kind of have similar backgrounds in the fact that we both were in corporate America previously. And you're relatively a newer agent, but not really newer. How long have you been in the
Started
business?
in 13, so
2013, 4
4 years.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I believe you're at American Express.
Yeah, American Express for 5 years. So, and it was, you're sitting on the phones all day, taking over 100 calls a day in the cubicle. And it was funny as I found myself, on my lunch breaks and even in between calls, looking at houses. And my mom, actually growing up when I was in high school, she was a real estate agent.
Really?
So I got to kind of learn a little bit of her mistakes without me having to pay for them.
Sure.
But then I'm sitting there, after, it was probably a good 2 months, just looking at houses for no reason. I'm like, why don't I do this for a living, And sure enough, I went ahead and made the big leap and landed on my feet. It was great. So
how was that transition from stable income job into commission real estate? And
it was scary. The best advice that I had is the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to be in a 2-bedroom apartment with your wife and kids. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. I'm still going to have them, still going to have everything that I want. You'll just be in a smaller living space for the time being. So that helped me make that leap, obviously knowing that there was some sort of a cushion at the bottom that you get to land on. But really the biggest thing, I think, and a reason why a lot of people are not successful in the business is, I thought whenever I first started, I'm going to go out and show houses all day and cash paychecks. And that's it, man. It's going to be awesome. And it got to the point to where once you become a real estate agent and it hits you dead on that that's not the case, you have a path of 2 different ways. You can either still continue to think that that's what it is and then you're going to fall off a cliff, or you're going to put the grind together and put the work together and be successful. And that's pretty much what I did. I actually started off on a team. I was a guy that was, he's showing you the ropes. He's telling you about how to do things, how to write contracts, how to lead generate, but he's taking 50% of your commissions. And that's absolutely worth it in that first year. I'm doing the grunt work. I'm learning everything. You have the broker that's taking their commissions. He's taking half of everything as well.
Right.
You don't have much left. Yeah. So you're doing close to 50 transactions, but in real life that's almost like only 20. You know what I mean? If you were by yourself. So, but it was worth it, and I would not have done it any differently if I didn't do the whole team process and do that grunt work for at least a year. I still think that I would have fallen flat on my face, because if I would have tried going out there by myself and just I don't need the test or the training type of thing. Right. I really don't think that I would have known half as much as I did.
So initially that team transition into the business helped you find your way as far as what activities are effective, how could I actually, you learned a whole lot in that first year. And I think that translates into what you do today. You hold a lot of, from what I see, like mega open houses, getting a lot of traction, trying to, sell your listings.
And the business is different for everybody. My biggest thing is go with your strengths. You know what I mean? Anything that you're weak at, don't sit there and focus on it all day. If it's not a lead generating type of thing, then just throw it out. Don't do it anymore. I really am a personal person. I like to be able to meet people. Good on the phones, obviously, from American Express, but I do not cold call. There's a lot of people that do the canceled listings, expired listings, FSBOs. It's not my strength. And there's absolutely people out there that can do it, and they absolutely kill it. But I focus on the stuff that I enjoy doing most, so that way whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm actually looking forward to doing it. I can't imagine people that love doing cold calling, but they're out there.
I love it.
Right. I can't wait to get hung up on 30 times. So overall, though, it's that's what I kind of got to learn from being on that team. He's paying for all the marketing as far as the top guy. And yes, he's obviously gaining some money by the agents that he has, but he's teaching you so much. And that money that I was spending, I would have spent even more. I would have given 60-70% just because of the amount of knowledge that I was getting. And then I had an exit strategy. That's the other thing. There's some people that, again, it's just better for them to be underneath that wing. It's a nice security blanket. And again, they go their whole career staying underneath that team because it's nice. You don't have a lot to think about other than putting people in escrow. But myself, I kind of saw my ability to go out and branch out and do my own thing, and it absolutely worked great, which was nice.
Yeah. So the topic of the show today is eliminating the fluff.
Sure.
So what what do you mean by eliminating the fluff, or what do
Well,
you see out there?
in-
What's going on?
This business, and I don't know if it's just because I just know, real estate, because it's obviously what I do, but I don't think I've ever seen any other business where there's more people out there talking about making all this money. That's all they talk about. How to get six figures in your first year. You got the thing on Facebook that you see every time you log in talking about flipping homes. That's, again, still real estate. And you've got a guy that's talking about buying a home and then selling it to an investor. You don't even have to do anything. You don't even have to flip. You just basically, you're the wholesaler. And I've had people actually call me and they're like, hey, I signed up for this great program. I paid all this money for it. I got this training. And now that I have my certification, I can't find anybody that's willing to sell their house to me for cheap enough that I can go sell it to an investor. And they're like, did I get scammed? And I'm like, well, no, it's not a scam. It's just not realistic. I mean, sure that there are some out there, and I've done a ton of transactions in the 4 years. One of them has been wholesale. And that's less than 1% type of thing. And the biggest thing with that is you got to find somebody that's willing to sell their house for less than what market value is, and then find somebody that's willing to buy it for more than market value. Yeah,
right.
And to be able to get any kind of money in there. And that's where the problem comes in. So even if you do find somebody that's willing to sell it, now you got to go out there and try and find that investor. And investors nowadays, they want the cushion because they're the ones that's going to be taking the risk. They're going to be paying for the remodel in the kitchen, all the new flooring. And then they get in there and they find out the AC needs to be replaced. It just adds up. So they've got to give themselves a cushion. They're not willing to pay more than what it's worth. And I think that's why it becomes an issue. And you see, all these likes and loves all over this guy that's got Lamborghinis in the background, stuff like that, And sure enough, he's selling his product. That's what he does, and he's good at it. But my biggest recommendation is anytime you go to talk to anybody, whether it's a motivational speaker or somebody that you're about to spend money on, do yourself a favor and do the research beforehand. There's a lot of motivational guys out there, or even team leaders, that they tell you how to get six figures in your first year. How to do this. This is my process or my system. And then you look at them, they haven't sold anything in the last 10 years. It's like, dude, because it's all the people below them. It's their little minions that are working for them. And that's, again, a system that, yes, may work for some people, but everybody's different. So his top seller that's using his system to a T and is making all this money, somebody else does the exact same thing, and if they hate it, they're not going to make any money, because seriously, you have to do something that you love. And really, at the same time with the whole eliminating the fluff, is anybody that tells you, I love my job, it's a blessing every day that I wake up, they're absolutely lying to themselves. The only way that it's a blessing is if we're sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, not doing anything all day. Right. Yes, there's days where I absolutely love it. When I'm going out and showing houses or handing over the keys or popping the champagne because we're finally closing on a house, those days are awesome. But that's probably 15 to 20% of the business. Other than that, I'm on the phones. I'm responding to emails. I'm doing paperwork. I don't know anybody that loves paperwork.
Right. I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Write up this contract.
I guess there's some accountants out there, but we don't really talk to them much.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're doing this business, and I want to say it's probably a good half that ends up generating zero income. If all I did was talk to people that ended up buying a house, it'd be the easiest job in the world. But you have to weed through that. There's a lot of people that love talking about houses and love actually potentially buying a house, but whenever it comes time to do it, they had a foreclosure 2 months ago. And things like that happen. And it's harder to have good credit, I think, than anything nowadays, especially with all the responsibilities that people have. You got kids, bills start coming up whenever you have those children. Expenses start going through the roof, and sure enough, the people that are buying the houses typically are those that have kids and have a lot of those liabilities. The good thing is the banks are starting to kind of stretch out a little bit. It's not like it was back in 06 and 07 when they were just like, how much you make? 150. All right, here's your loan.
Right.
That's not the way it goes anymore. But at least they're actually kind of giving more capabilities for people. There's a lot of programs out there. But again, it's still a small few. I want to say it's less than half. You go into the rental market, it's insane. I don't, unfortunately, personally do rentals just because we're so busy on the sales side. But every now and then I'll have a client that bought a house and he's like, I don't want to sell my house. Can you help me with the rental side? Absolutely. Go through, take some pictures. We'll look at the comps and then we'll list it $200 more than the closest comp. And he gets absolutely blown up with the amount of people that are looking for a rental. So there's a lot of people out there, obviously, that do not have the capability to purchase. And that's kind of what we do when we're looking for the sales or for the buyers. I'm talking to people that we're helping go through the whole process, and then whenever they get to the point where they're about to go house hunting, they got to go through that pre-qualification process. That's what tells you right then and there if they can get qualified or if they're 6 months down the road. Sometimes, unfortunately, never. And that's the biggest, most difficult conversation that you have with the client is, look, I want to go out and show you these houses. Nobody's going to work harder for you to go out and look at all these homes. We'll look at 20 of them if we have to, but I have to get you pre-qualified before we go see any of them.
Sure.
And sometimes they don't get that, and that's the tough part. Now they'll go out and they'll find another agent.
People, you kind of waste your time. A lot of people don't realize, like, if a home in a certain price range and you want it, you pretty much have to pull the trigger quickly or they're snatched up quick.
Absolutely.
Well, so if you don't have your stuff in order, you can't put in the offer, so you're basically kind of wasting your time out there.
And that's the whole thing. And not only that, too, you've got sellers out there that they hear about a showing, and they're going to get their house cleaned and detailed and do all this effort and work and make sure it's smelling good, turn on the lights, and then they leave. And then I'm showing a buyer that's not even pre-qualified. I mean, that probably kills that other person. They did all this effort, and I'm showing you a house to someone that has no intention on being able to buy the house. And that's what we try to eliminate. There's a lot of that going around because of the fact that typically agents, they're starving for that business. I got somebody talking to me, I'll go out and show them a house. But if you're working and it's not with someone that's going to eventually generate income, you might as well be sitting at home watching TV. I mean, that's literally what it comes out to. And that's why a lot of times it's a difficult conversation, but if you present it in the right way, typically they understand. There's going to be some times where they go a different way, and that's unfortunate, but that's part of the business. Because otherwise, I wouldn't even have time to come here and talk to you today if I was out running around showing 50 houses a day type of thing. So there's definitely a process, but then at the same time, it helps the buyer. So not only, like I said, the sellers, obviously, but then you have the buyers. If you've got a buyer that's out there looking at a house, like you said, he finds something he absolutely loves. Oh, I want to write an offer on this. Great, go through the pre-qualification process. All of a sudden, the lender wants their W-2s. He wants some more detail that they got to go through and research and find. A couple of things that could happen. Obviously, like you said, somebody's already written an offer and that they've accepted, and now you're back to square one. Or they find out that they don't qualify for enough. They're a few thousand below that they qualify for. Now you got to go out and find another house. The other option is they find out they qualify for even more. Interest rates are crazy low, so they thought the $250,000 house is all they can afford. They find out they can go up to 3. Now, again, you're going out and starting back from square one. So that's why it's better just to get that out of the way. Now you can focus on the fun stuff, which is going out and actually looking for a house and finding what your dream home is. And that's the biggest thing. So as far as whenever I go to eliminating the fluff, it's because just like myself, whenever I first started, I was super stoked. I still am stoked about the business, obviously, but I thought this was it. I'm going to go out, show some houses, wine and dine some people, and then, collect a paycheck, and that's it. My wife's going to stay home. Everything's going to be perfect. And then I get there, and I'm like, minimum 60 hours you have to put into this thing to actually make it a realistic business. Because really, even if you close 1-2 deals a month, if you're running the business right, that may not even be enough to cover expenses. Not only personal expenses, but business expenses. And then, of course, the IRS, they want their money too. You know about that. I have some issues with that.
You're a good friend.
But then, yeah. So, and IRS loves real estate agents, man. They absolutely, because that's one business where there's a lot of people out there running around. They're spending money on clients. They're buying them, drinks when we're going out showing houses, taking them out to meals and stuff. And if you don't keep that receipt, they don't care. You can't prove it that you spent that money, so now they want their portion. Unfortunately, I got audited for 2015. That was my first time ever. So you got the business where you're working 60 hours. I got the wife and kids that are at home. I want to spend time with them. But now you're doing outside stuff on top of that. You're doing the IRS thing. I'm dealing with whenever my wife, she got in an accident from dropping the kids home from school, somebody rear-ended her. And now I'm dealing with the insurance company. And it's like all that extra stuff makes the business extremely difficult because when I'm dealing with that, I'm not working. And whenever I'm not working and I'm dealing with that, I'm also not spending time with the kids. So it makes it tough. So my biggest thing is make sure you love the real estate business before you jump into it. Don't look at the dollars. That doesn't matter at this point because if you hate it, it's not going to work out. You're going to get burnt out in a year. Even if you're absolutely successful for a year or two, but you're waking up every day, and you know, obviously you got the paperwork days, but then on the days that I really enjoy, if you don't like those, man, what are you in the business for?
Right.
You know, and that's the biggest thing. That
Do you see a lot of agents or perception that people are just chasing the dollar? You know, because there's a lot of that out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and I've got a lot of past clients, a lot of friends that are on Facebook stuff. They jumped on the real estate thing, and there's a few of them that are absolutely successful, and there's some of them that are just like, oh, this is awful. It's nothing like I thought it would be. You know, you post all these things about the sold side.
Yeah,
I'm doing champagne.
What's all the work behind that?
Right.
So.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing is I had we got in my office. It's the picture of the iceberg thing. You know, where you see the success of the iceberg on top. It's this little guy, but then everything underneath the water that's absolutely huge. That's all the hard work that nobody sees. So again, the Facebook is highlights, man. It's when I'm excited. And those are my good days. But if I was taking pictures of me in the office, ripping my hair out, people would be like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with this guy?" So that's what I'm more about is trying to make sure that people understand that this business is not all rainbows and butterflies. You know, it's absolutely great when you're with the client and you're enjoying things with them. But at the same time, I've been for 2013. My last actual day off was 2013. And that's the whole thing. You'll spend time with the kids, but you're always answering a phone call.
Yeah,
you're
I think
always
even
following up with people.
Even when we went to California that one time, you're
absolutely
constantly.
I'm on the track in the Z. What's going on? That's why I spun out, man.
You're on the phone.
But no, and that's the whole thing. So if I didn't love it, I would hate that, So, but the kids, the good thing about it is obviously when I'm with the kids, I'm able to handle some work stuff. But you also got to pay attention to them. They don't want dad in his laptop all day.
You have the flexibility, but I think a lot of people would get sucked into, I don't have to. Nobody's forcing me, but you have to have that.
Oh, and then
that inner drive.
And then you have the, it must be nice to create your own schedule, dude. I have never created my own schedule in my life. Your clients create your schedule, and yes, of course, you can make it a little bit flexible every now and then. Want to go to my daughter's gymnastics that night, but I'm still working sometimes whenever that's going on. Client wants to see it at 10 o'clock. You know what? If I'm like, I just don't feel like showing houses today until around 5, they're going to call the next agent. You have to go out there and you have to be available to these people. That's why they're on there, or why they've chosen you to help them find a house. People in general, and they'll probably eat me up for this, but people are crazy in general. And then you take those people and you put them in a stressful situation. You have to be available at the drop of a hat. They're calling you, they're freaking out about something that's really minor. I've probably dealt with it 30 times, but they don't know that. They've bought a house and they do that maybe 3-4 times in their lifetime. So it has to feel as if they're your only client. And I think that's what's made it so successful is I've got the clients that want to talk to me 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we're talking, having a great time, got everything figured out. And then I go to bed, and I got missed calls at 6 a.m. because I had other clients that want to talk to you first thing in the morning. And that's the whole thing. So you have to be flexible. And if I'm doing this lifestyle, I have to make sure I enjoy it. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Burn out.
Absolutely. Yep. And that hasn't gotten to be the case, which is nice because of the fact that, I treat every one of the clients as if it was my own personal home that I'm buying.
And I think you hit it right. Like, there's so many different ways that you can leverage your strengths or what you enjoy in this business.
Yeah.
For me, how I got my license and then I left, and now I'm doing pretty much media stuff, so it's just you kind of get into it and then you figure out what you enjoy doing. And
and that's the other thing too, man, is I'll look at you sometimes, I'm like, man, I want to be a part of Lister Pros. Because all my family's in Louisiana. I'm like, Louisiana could use a Lister Pros,
Right.
And it's because of how much you enjoy what you do. But that probably wouldn't be for me. I would have an absolute blast for the first year, and then I'd be like, I hate these cameras.
Yeah. I'm like, right. Let me figure out the maximum,
Absolutely. So again, everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. What you love to do, that's what you jump on, and that's what you do every day.
And so you talked a lot about eliminating the fluff and what you're getting into the business. You have a tendency to sell your listings fairly quickly, and I've seen you posting videos and different things. What do you think is the key to having your sell your listings quickly? Not
just listing the home. That's the biggest thing. Is there's a lot of people out there that they take some great photos. put it on the market and let another agent sell it for them. That doesn't work. I mean, yes, it works probably 80% of the time. But that's whenever you see the homes are on the market for 30, 60 days, things like that. I have to treat it literally as if it's my own personal listing. Granted, that means I'm not going to have 20 listings. It's the Jerry Maguire type of approach. Less listings, but then you're absolutely hitting them out of the ballpark. And now I'm getting these referrals because people are blown away because they couldn't sell it before. Essentially, so what you do is when you have that listing, obviously I've got to have the guys out there that are doing the great photos. That's why I give you a call. And then, of course, the videos, the 3D floor plans, absolutely awesome. But then nobody's going to see that stuff if I just put it on the MLS. I've got to share on all my social media if I can. I've got an email blast system where, for the past 4 years, anybody that's ever reached out to me about anything, they're in that system. And so you have at least 3,000 to 4,000 people that are notified of a brand new listing the second that it goes live. And that's why I want to say probably a good 40 to 50% of our listings, we end up selling through that sphere, whether it's through people that we know or past agents that we know, things like that, which is absolutely huge. And just, it's all a numbers game. The more amount of ways that I can get people into that house that I'm trying to sell, the better chance someone's going to fall in love with it and write a great offer.
And that, we hold that same perspective. I think one of your big roles as a real estate agent when you take a listing is to get as many eyeballs on that listing as possible, as much interest. That way you get the most, the highest potential of success, for your sellers. If you get that one more buyer interested by engaging them online or with your video or whatever, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And then
the
doing
open
that
houses.
extra.
Yep. And the open houses are huge too. It's kind of one of those where, a lot of people think that they're a waste of time or that they're just there to gain buyer leads. That's all they want to do is go for buyer leads. And I say absolutely not. I want to try to engage with those neighbors. The neighbor is obviously not going to move into that house, but with social media nowadays, everybody knows somebody that's looking to move. And if they like them, they want them to live next to them. You know what I mean? So that's huge, and that's why a lot of times we'll have people that'll come in. Oh, let me call my brother real quick. See if he wants to see the house. And sure enough, they come out and they check it out. They may have an agent, which is absolutely fine. I love working with other agents too. So it's again just getting the people in there, whether they're going to work through me on the buyer side or through another agent by getting that listing sold. That's another Facebook post I got to put up.
There you go.
So it's great.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks for sharing. I mean, this show has been great. If somebody's out there interested, they want to, ask you some additional questions about the real estate industry or, you in particular, or if they're looking to list or looking to buy a house, how does somebody get a hold of you? Best way is obviously through the phone number. I'll put in my plug here. It's 480-239-0518. The other thing that I like is Ryan, that's email, Ryan, R-Y-A-N, at CajunandTheSun.com. Essentially got that. Yes, I got that because I'm from Louisiana. There we go. Selling homes here in the Valley of the Sun. So CajunandTheSun.com, and that's how you reach me. And it really just, I tell people too, it's nothing could be too big or too small. Just little questions here and there that people reach out. You don't even have to be interested in buying a house. You just have a question about the market. I get people too that they talk about the fact that values keep going up. They've been going up since 2011. Is it going to crash again? What's going on? And every year I'm looking at the statistics, and it's absolutely a strong, balanced market right now. We don't have back in 2006 where it was going up 20, 30% in a year. Right. No market can sustain something like that. But we're at 6 to 10% every year. I mean, we're still not even at the peak of where 2006 was. So I got people that are asking me kind of what's going on in the market. Is it safe to buy? It's all supply and demand. It's really easy to look at. If the supply is there and there's no demand, values start going down. If the demand stays consistent with supply or it's even higher, values keep going up. It's really easy to look at, able to kind of give them that knowledge, and that helps them with that peace of mind of going out and buying houses. But again, that person may not buy a house for 2-3 years. But it's awesome being able to talk about it because I love doing that, and now I'm not doing paperwork. I'm not talking to somebody, which is great. So it's huge to reach out, and I love being able to just talk about real estate, which is great. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, Ryan. Absolutely, this edition of Real Estate Pros on Lister Pros TV. It was a blast. And we will see you guys on the next episode. You got it fried. I'm still on camera. What are you doing? What is fried? This is fried.